Hey everybody, it's Allison, the Holistic Homesteader. Today I am making chicken cordon bleu, asparagus stuffed chicken cordon bleu tonight, and I figured I would show you the recipe. Alright, so the first things first. We need to get our asparagus cooked because you don't want to put raw asparagus. Also, these are not for this recipe. You do not want to put raw asparagus stalks into your chicken or they will never cook. And I don't really know about you, but I don't prefer to eat crunchy asparagus. I like it, just like a pasta with a little bit of a bite, but mostly cooked. So starting off, let's talk about what happens after you come home from the grocery store with your asparagus. Usually it comes in a rubber banded bundle, or sometimes it'll come in a plastic bag. Either way, take about an inch off of the bottom. So the part that looks like a little tree is the top, and this is the bottom where it grew up out of the ground. Asparagus literally grow like that as little stalks, just one right after another coming up out of the ground, and they grow for like 20 years. You chop it off and they'll continue to grow for like the next 20 years without ever having to like transplant them or add more to it. As long as you cut them off at the at ground level, they will just keep coming. It's a great tip. So but they do take a while to actually start growing and to get to this size. Anywho, all right, so you brought them home, you've taken them and you've brought them home and you've chopped about an inch off of the bottoms. You take them then and you stick them in a cup of water. I'm just using this coffee mug, and you add I had about an inch of water down in the bottom. These are still alive. You don't want them to wilt and you don't want them to get all slimy. So by standing them up in just about an inch of water, it still allows them to stay nice and firm. They're still getting the water they need to keep living, and it doesn't leave them laying in, a wet bag. So I'm going to clean some of these up. Some of the tips of these are not looking real great. I'm gonna take those off, and then I'm probably gonna take another inch off the bottom, and then I just stick them down into a little pan, and I add just maybe an inch of water and probably like an eighth of a teaspoon of salt, just a little bit of salt, and then I let them simmer and steam for probably like 4 or 5 minutes, just enough to take the crunchiness out of them, because they will finish cooking in the oven with our chicken. All right, here we go. So I chopped the tops and bottoms off of the asparagus. I cleaned out any of the ones that didn't look very healthy anymore. I put a sprinkle of the pink Himalayan salt down over the top of it, and now I'm just going to add just a little bit of water, maybe an inch. You don't need a whole lot. And I'm going to put these on the stove, bring them to a boil, and just let them steam for just a couple of minutes. While our asparagus is cooking, we are going to clean up our chicken. I've already done that step, and I started to butterfly them open. You want them to be a sheet of chicken breast, so I'm going to show you how I do that. All right, so I have cleaned this piece of chicken breast up. And what I mean by that is the chicken breasts have an outside edge, and then this is the inside edge, and this is where it would have been connected to the breastbone of the chicken. And usually up in this area, there's a thick piece of like tendon or cartilage up in there, and I always cut that out because I don't want to have to be going through my chicken and cutting out fatty bits. I always take the time to clean it up before I even start cooking with it. So I cleaned off that piece and any other fatty bits, and I rinsed it and I dried all of the meat really, really well. Now, so you've cleaned up your chicken, and on this inside rim here, that is where you're going to use a really sharp knife, and you're going to cut into the chicken. So I do this by holding my hand down flat on top of my chicken and kind of leveling it out. Now you have to be really careful when you do this. You obviously do not want to cut yourself. So I go about halfway down and I just make a slice. I start to slowly open the chicken breast up as I cut until I end up having a flat piece of meat. And it doesn't matter if it's a little bit thick on one end, that's okay. We're going to get to that in the next step. So once you have your meat opened up, I'm gonna take a sheet of parchment paper and place it over the top, and then I have a meat mallet. One side is smooth and one side is bumpy. I'm gonna use the smooth side, and those spots that were thicker, I'm just going to pound them out a little bit. You wanna make sure that your meat is about the same thickness the whole way from tip to tip. There you have it. So set that to the side. Now you have a sheet of chicken. I'm gonna set this one to the side, and I'm going to bang out these other two, and then I'll show you how we turn this into chicken cordon bleu. Okay, so I drained our asparagus. Just gonna let it hang out in the pot over here on the side and let it cool down. So for the chicken, we are going to use just a few ingredients. We got our salt and pepper, and then we have sliced ham, lunch meat. This is thinly sliced. You can use whatever your favorite is. I think this is just like Sara Lee. It's just whatever was available. And then I have provolone cheese. You can use, you can really use whatever cheese you like. This would be good with like a pepper jack or a Monterey or a Colby Jack, or really whatever your heart's content. Probably be great with some Swiss. I have provolone on hand, so that's what I'm using. So the first step in this is flipping it over, first of all. There is going to be an inside of the chicken and then the outside. You want to start with the inside up. From here, you're going to salt and pepper. Just a sprinkle of salt and a sprinkle of pepper. This is your only chance to season the inside of this meat. Then you're gonna take two slices of cheese, and you're going to take a couple slices of ham. And then you're going to take some of your asparagus. You want to use, I have 3 chicken breasts, so I want to use about 1/3 of my asparagus in this chicken breast. So just gonna spread it out. Now, all I'm gonna do is try to wrap this sucker up. Now that I have flipped the smallest piece over, we're gonna take some toothpicks and we're just going to help hold this together. And we're just gonna set this to the side. We are going to be browning these front, or top and bottom. We're gonna brown them in a big stainless steel skillet. And we're gonna make sure to salt and pepper both sides, and then we'll finish baking them in the oven. So Harper's gonna grab some toothpicks for me and toothpick those. I'm going to lay these other 2 out. Remember, you wanna put the inside section up, and then we're gonna salt and pepper, and we're gonna layer up our cheese, our ham, and our asparagus. from here, we are going to take our chicken breasts and we're going to take them just as they are, and we're going to put them down into a hot skillet. I'm going to turn our skillet on to like pretty high heat, probably high heat, to be honest with you. We want to just brown the outsides really, really well. Bear's passed out. So we are going to take our breasts and we're just going to sit them. Once our oil is hot, we have probably a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of avocado down in here getting hot. Once that's hot, we're going to brown that first side of our chicken breasts. All right, here we go. Just gonna sit these down in. And then do not move them. This pan might not have been big enough. There's everybody down in the pan. It's a really tight fit. So I turned my heat up to really high just because the pan is so full. I don't want the temperature of the pan to drop. I'm probably gonna grab my splatter shield just to help from all these avocado oil bubbles that are popping up. And I'm just gonna let this brown for probably 5 or 7 minutes. I wanna get that bottom of this chicken breast nice and browned up. It develops a lot of flavor in your meat. So I can smell that my meat is getting really brown, and I don't want my meat to burn. So what I'm gonna do from here, I apologize it's so noisy, but I'm gonna take out my toothpicks and I'm gonna very carefully turn the meat over, and then I'm gonna salt and pepper the other side of the meat because I haven't done that up until this point. I haven't done that yet. So I'm gonna take out my toothpicks, try to turn my meat over. That is exactly the color that we are looking for. Nice and golden brown. So now that we have our meat turned over, we're going to salt and pepper this side really well. Keep your temperature turned up because you want to brown the other side of the meat as well. And we're just going to do another little sprinkle of pepper. Now once the other side of this meat is browned, we have our oven preheated to 350 degrees. This entire pan is going to go down into my oven to finish cooking the chicken. It's going to be in the oven for probably about 20 to 25 minutes, I would say, just because of how big these chicken breasts are. You don't want to overcook it and you don't want to undercook it. So that'll all depend on how big your chicken breasts are and how thin you've got them pounded out. All right, so our chicken breasts, I can see the cheese is really starting to brown. I have a feeling that other side, I don't want to touch it. I just want to leave it as it is, and I have a feeling that other side is pretty good to go. So you don't want to burn anything in your pan. I've turned the heat off. I'm going to take this pan and I'm going to carefully put it down in my oven, and I'm going to set the timer for about 20-25 minutes. From there, I'll pull it out, I'll let it sit for a minute, and then I'm going to see which chunk of meat is the thickest. And I'm gonna just cut into it and see if the chicken is cooked or not. And if it's not, I'll obviously put it back in for probably 5 or 10 more minutes, and then I should be good to go. So our chicken was just pulled out of the oven. It's been in there for about 20 minutes. I'm just going to let this hang out on the stove for a few minutes. And I'm going to find wherever my biggest piece of chicken is. I'm gonna cut into that and see if it's done or if it needs a few more minutes to cook. So I've cut into a few pieces of this chicken. This one here is done. This one here is done. But when I pulled this one apart, this one is definitely not done yet. So I'm going to put these back in the 350 degree oven for about another 10 minutes. All right, everybody, there we have it. So I did have to cook these for about a half an hour total, 350 degrees, once I got them browned up. You do want to make sure that they are cooked the whole way through. Once you pull them out of the oven, they will continue to cook while they cool off a little bit. I hope you have enjoyed this recipe. I appreciate you so much if you've taken the time to watch and to subscribe. I will see you guys all next time. All right, bye.